Yo, what's going on, dudes? HK Titan here with a brand new video for you guys, and in today's video, I'm going to be remaking one of the easiest maps in Bloons TD6. I'm going to be turning it into an expert map. So the map that I've chosen to redo today is going to be the map 1-2 Tree. So 1-2 Tree I thought would be a pretty interesting map to redo because 1-2 Tree, it has that mechanic where as the rounds progress, the trees will gradually be removed. So it shouldn't be too hard to turn into an expert map because the big difference is that all the trees that we place down are going to be permanent. So the first thing we need to do is we need to go ahead and choose the background we want to use. Now I was thinking that because it is almost wintertime, what if I turned the 1-2 Tree map into like an autumn map? I thought that would be a pretty cool and interesting design. And because we have the trees from the 1-2 Tree map in the BTD6 Map Editor, this should be a pretty interesting and fun concept. So the first thing we need to do is we need to choose the pathway that we're going to be using. So I thought about this quite a bit, and I think this pathway is going to end up being the best because I think it looks pretty clean, and I think it goes together with this autumn theme pretty well. So let me go ahead and get the pathway set up real quick, and I'll bring you guys back in just a second. All right, so this is the basic layout for the map 1-2 Tree. So the first thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and clean this map up just a little bit. And it shouldn't be too hard to actually make the pathway for this map because I mean it's just like down, up, down, up, down, up. So it's a pretty easy layout to make. The only thing I want to make sure is I want to make sure that I make the edges squared off. And it's actually pretty simple to actually square these edges off. I'll show you guys here in just a second. So what I'm doing right now is I just want to get like the basic layout for this map set up. And then after I get the basic layout for the map, we'll go ahead and make all of these edges super square. All right, so I think that's looking pretty good. I do have one issue over here on the right hand side. The pathway is just a little bit skinnier than I want it to be, so I need to go ahead and adjust some of these other pathways. That way I can go ahead and make them like the same thickness. So I think that looks pretty good. So let's go ahead and start making these corners a little bit more squared off. And the easiest way to square off corners is by using these pylons. So if we use these pylons correctly, then we should actually be able to make these pathways a little bit more squared off. So I think I'm gonna have to add another pylon halfway through in order to get that really square looking corner that I want to go for. All right, and I think that looks pretty good. I think this spot just needs to be raised up just a little bit. And for the most part, I think that's pretty even, if I do say so myself. This side over here needs to come down just a touch because it's a little bit off. Okay, so we just need to do this like this and then raise it up just a touch. And I think that should do it for the pathway. Now, obviously, it's not going to look perfect, so we need to add a couple of different props to go ahead and take away from the imperfections, but that really shouldn't be too hard to do. Now, the next thing I want to do, I want to go ahead and add a bunch of trees. Well, actually, before I add the trees, I'm going to go ahead and add some fences, because the fences play a big part in this map because you have fences that come down the left-hand side, along the bottom, and along the right-hand side as well. So let's go ahead and grab those fences really quick. All right, and I think that fence looks pretty good. So what I'm going to do, because this isn't an exact one-to-one scale to the 1-2 Tree map, I'm going to go ahead and make the fence a little bit closer to the path. And then I'll copy this and I'll make all of these fences go along the left-hand side, along the bottom, and along the right-hand side as well. And then I'll go ahead and add some bushes over here along the left-hand side, the bottom side, as well as the right-hand side as well. And we kind of ran into our first problem, so I'm gonna have to make these fences a little bit smaller because I want to make it so the fence goes along the pathway and kind of connects to itself. So it'll kind of be our own version of a 1-2 Tree because I feel the original 1-2 Tree is really good, but it really wouldn't serve the purpose that I'm going for, especially since I'm trying to turn this into an expert map. If I made it too easy, then obviously it wouldn't be an expert map. All right, and I think that's coming along quite nicely. Now, as I was saying, I am going to be turning this into an expert map. So instead of having this open area up here at the top of the map, I decided to take that away. And I'm going to turn it into a place where you can't place down any towers. And along with that, I'm also going to make it so you can't place any towers on the opposite side of all these fences over here. So the only places where you're actually going to be able to place down towers are going to be within the fence line here. And I think that's going to look pretty good. So the first thing I want to do, let me go ahead and replace or fill in this top side here. Now I'm going to be adding a little bit of green to my map by placing down a bunch of these spruce trees because, I mean, the maps on 1-2 Tree look really similar to these spruce trees. So I figured why not go ahead and reuse them for my remastered or my improved version of 123. Now, one thing I'm debating on doing right now is I'm debating on whether or not I should add a couple of the autumn leaves down here in like the corner to make it seem like all of the leaves came from like one giant tree, but I'm not sure if that would look good or not. So let me finish placing down all of these spruce trees. And now with these spruce trees, I need to go ahead and make sure that I remember to like change some of their sizes, because if they're all the same size, then it's not really going to look very good. And I also want to like space them out just a little bit. So in between all of these spruce trees, we'll add some like bushes, we'll add some shrubs, because you guys do know that I really like working with some shrubs, especially when I'm making these maps, because they add a lot of detail to the map. Now, the only issue is that I don't know how well the shrubs would go with like the autumn background. I do know that there are like certain plants that like survive during the winter time that still keep their greenery, but I mean, well, who really cares? Because I mean, this is my map, so I can kind of like design it the way that I want to, but I thought it would look really, or I don't know how it would look with all of these leaves down here, which is like the whole reason why I thought about adding some of the leaves from where's that prop? And that's like the whole reason why I thought about adding some of these leaves. And then we could like add these leaves over here on the left hand side, and they'll be like overshadowing the pathway here. And I thought that would look pretty interesting. The only thing is that we would have to make it seem like there's a tree over here on the left hand side. So that's something that we have to keep in mind. Now, another thing I was thinking about doing is like making some of my homemade trees. But the only problem with like the homemade trees and stuff is like they look good, but the big problem with them is that they really interfere with like sight lines. So I don't like to use them unless I have to, or unless I'm like placing trees where it really doesn't matter if the sight line's like messed up or not. And then this will just be like a ginormous autumn tree that's like its leaves are like getting ready to fall off. There we go. And I think that looks pretty good. Now I'm debating on what I want to do with the inside here. I think I'm gonna have to stick with what I was originally planning on, and I think what I have to do is I do have to go with the spruce trees. And I'll like place some spruce trees along the middle here, and like I was saying, all of the leaves would come from this tree over here on the right hand side. I think that would look the best. Now the thing I'm trying to do is I'm trying to like turn this into an expert map, but at the same time I want this map to be beatable. So let's go ahead and like space out these spruce trees a little bit. So we'll do like a little bit of like an up and down pattern like this. Now I'm debating whether or not I want to add some like watering holes. So if we add like one hole here, I think, yeah, so on the original map, there is one watering hole here, and then there's one down here in the bottom and the middle of the map. I think that would actually look pretty good. So let me go ahead and come over here to the area. Let's go ahead, we'll add a water effect. Now the only question is which water effect would look the best. I think this one would look the best. It'll add a little bit of blue color to our map, which is something that we really need right now. Because right now we have a bunch of greens, we have a bunch of oranges, but we don't have any like brighter colors. So if we grab this blue, it'll really make our map pop a little bit. Now the only problem with this watering hole is like trying to make it look good, because we're trying to like make a really small water area. And the only problem with that is like it's kind of difficult to do when you're trying to like make something really small. I actually figured that out while I was trying to make like an underwater map. Like trying to turn these areas into like really small effects is something that's like super hard. All right, so I think that looks pretty good for a water effect over there. Let me go ahead and add another water effect over here. And this one we need to like really take our time with, because any mistakes with this one are really going to be noticeable. Whereas this one up here, we have this like spruce tree here that can like go ahead and like block it off. So a bunch of the imperfections we really won't see. But with this one, we're going to see everything. So we need to make sure that we make it as like symmetrical as we possibly can. So in order to like try to make it as symmetrical as we can, let's go ahead and make it so all of the pylons are facing the same direction. I think that's one thing that we can do to make this look as best as we can. There we go. So it'll have like a kind of like an oval pattern, and I think that looks pretty good, as well as it adds a bunch of color to our map, which is something that we're kind of lacking. Now the next thing we want to do. Right now, I feel like if we just like made this map and produced this map right now, it would be a little bit too easy. So let me go ahead and add a couple more of these spruce trees. Now over here on the right hand side, I'm not going to add any spruce trees. So I'm going to have to like find something to like make it the map a little bit harder. And I think I'm going to have to like use a couple of rocks. I think using rocks would work really, really well. The only problem is once we start adding shade, then the rock's really going to seem out of place unless we use like the right style of rock. But before we start getting into some rocks, let me go ahead and add some of these shrubby boys. So we'll add some like shrubs here. We'll go ahead and add some more over here. And then we'll go ahead and like position these shrubs all around the map to add a little bit more detail into like the forest area. Now, I don't know if this is like an improved version of the map 1-2 tree, but I definitely know it'll be a harder version. Because 1-2 tree is actually a pretty simple map to black border, especially since you get like those buffs whenever you place down towers. So this should be a pretty challenging map once we get done placing down all these props. And also, once we start adding some shade to the forest area, it should make the trees as well as all these shrubs blend in a little bit better. So right now, if they look a little bit out of place, don't worry too much because again, once we add that shade, it'll make all of these props like blend in a little bit better. But I also want to keep some of that orange background too. Like I don't want to take all of the orange background away from the tree area because I really like that orange because I feel like it makes our props pop just a little bit more. Then we'll also like use these shrubs to like kind of make our watering holes blend in a little bit better, and we can like kind of like remove some of the imperfections that we have with our holes as well. So I think this is actually come together quite nicely. Let me go ahead and copy a couple more of these big ones. That way we can go ahead and add them around the map a little bit more. Because right now, the background, there really isn't too much detail on it. But as we add more and more of these shrubs, I'm seeing like more and more detail like pop out. And it's really making our map come to life a little bit more. Now, when you're adding like the detail to some of your other props that you like place down, it's all right if you leave a couple of small imperfections, because I mean, those small imperfections will actually make it, or it will actually make your map seem a little bit more clean. If you have a couple of like small imperfections, because I mean, like in nature, nothing in nature is really going to be perfect except for like really, really rare occasions. So that's something that you like can keep in the back of your mind when you're creating your own maps. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect, but just as long as it's close. Like, as long as it's close, then it should look good. There we go. And I think that should do it for our shrubs. Now, the next thing we want to do, let's go ahead and come over here to the stamp icon. And then let's go ahead and place some of these stamps along the pathway. Because by placing these stamps along the path, it'll really add a lot of detail to our path. And it'll make it seem like there's actual leaves on our pathway. Like, it's kind of like not overgrown, but it isn't like well kept. And I think this would look really good on our path. Now, we don't have to go crazy with these leaves. We just want to kind of like blend the pathway into our map a little bit better. And yeah, that looks really, really good. It looks like this tree is like getting rid of its leaves, and they're starting to like go all over the path. And I think that makes our map look really, really clean. Now, the next thing I want to do, I want to go ahead and add a little bit of a detail to these ponds, because right now these ponds are like, they're a little bit too blue. But I want to make sure that I'm not going to be blocking any of the placement of towers in these two watering holes, because if I block the placement of the towers, then it's going to make this map a little bit harder than I would like to, or it'll make this map a little bit harder than I would like it to be. So what I'll do to add a little bit of detail to these watering holes is I'll add these sunspots. Because these sunspots work really, really good for adding some detail to water when you really don't have anything else that you can add. Now, another thing that I was thinking about adding is I was thinking about adding these leaves, but I don't think they would look good with this like autumn theme. So the next thing we can do is we can actually add a couple of like these leaves, and we can add these into these watering holes, and it's not going to stop us from placing down any towers, but it's going to add that little bit of extra detail that we're looking for. So we have the sunspots, and we also have these orange leaves that I think make our map look pretty good. All right, so now the next thing I want to do, I want to go ahead first thing, let me go ahead and take a look at my map in an actual game. So the main thing I'm looking at is like where I can place down towers. So we can go ahead and like place down towers in the back, and yeah, this is exactly what I'm talking about with these leaves, to where they're really going to interfere with like placing down towers. So we really don't have to worry too much about this spot over here, but we need to add some detail to make it seem like we purposely made it so we can't place down any towers over here on this far left-hand path. Like maybe we'll make it so you could like place down like one spike factory in the very back here. Yeah, so we could like place a spike factory back here. I think that would be perfectly fine. And then let me go ahead and take a look for snipers. Okay, for snipers, this actually looks pretty good. Like, I feel like it wouldn't be too easy, but at the same time, I don't feel like it would be an expert map. Now, what's one thing I can do to like turn this into an expert map? Because like right now we could like add our Sauda, and like our Sauda would be able to deal with the majority of the balloons. But let me see here. So if we add like can we like throw a village down over here, or something as big as a village? We could throw, okay, so we could fit a monkey ace there. We could fit a bomb shooter. So I feel like this would be too easy. So let me go ahead. Well, actually, I feel like it wouldn't be too easy. I don't think I'm going to be able to get away with like turning this into an expert map. So maybe we'll be able to turn this into like an advanced map. I think the advanced map would be as best as we can do. So let me go ahead and jump back in. And then I think I'm going to have to like place a rock here. And then after we place like a rock here, maybe I'll like place like another rock over here. Nah, if I place another rock here, then I feel like, no, the rock would be good. Again, we're trying to turn this into a harder version of the map. And if I leave like a spot like this open, it'll leave the possibility of placing down Sauda. And I don't want to remove the possibility of placing down Sauda, but at the same time, I don't want it to be too easy. So instead, let's go ahead and like place a log here. So let's place down a log. Let me go ahead and like rotate it. We'll place this log here. And then let me go ahead and like move a couple of these shrubs around, because right now I feel like the shrubs, they look good, but that was before I added this log. So we'll put this log over here. We'll add like another shrub over here. We'll go ahead and make it a little bit smaller. And this is going to make it so we can't like get away with like just placing down Sauda right here, which is exactly what I want. Then another thing I'm thinking about doing is like placing down another log over here. That way you can't place like Sauda over here either. So let me go ahead and grab another log. We'll place this log over here like this. We'll make it a little bit on the smaller side. There we go. And we'll have it like hanging over the pathway just a little bit. And then let me go ahead and copy a couple of these smaller shrubs. And then we'll make it like this. And that's really going to add to the difficulty of our map. Now let me go ahead and jump back into a game really quick to see if I can like place down a dart monkey there or stuff like that. Like I want to make sure like it'd be all right if we could like place our Sauda here, because she's not going to be as effective if I could like place her right here, right? And same thing over here. It looks like we can't place our Quincy over here. Any spot over here? No. Yeah, so this is actually exactly what I'm going for. So this is going to make our map way harder, because yeah, we can still like place our Quincy here, and he's going to have like a pretty big area of effect, but we're not going to be able to get away with like placing Sauda down here to where she'll be able to wreck everything. Next, let's go ahead and check on the dart monkeys really quick. So dart monkeys. Okay, so I think that looks pretty good, right? Like I feel like it's not too easy, but at the same time it's not like super difficult either. And you know what, instead of adding the rock, I think we would be better off adding these logs, because we already have the log. So if we add like a log over here, we rotate it like this, then we make it a little bit on the bigger side, that would like explain like why we can't like place towers here, and would also leave us a little bit of room in the very back. There we go. And I think that looks pretty clean. Yeah. And then we'll go ahead and add ourselves a couple more shrubs. We'll place like one shrub here. And then we'll place like another shrub over here like this. And we'll make this one a little bit bigger. And then we'll make like another shrub over here. But at the same time, let's actually remove that shrub. And then we'll grab one of the smaller ones like this. There we go. Now let's actually make this a little bit smaller. Now we'll move it over here to the right a little bit. And I think that looks pretty good, right? Now, right now it's looking a little bit bland. So let me go ahead and bring a little bit more life to my map by adding shade. So we'll add these shades along the forest here because the shade is really going to make our map come to life a little bit because it'll make these trees up here in the top really blend in with the rest of our map. And also we can't forget to add the shade underneath this tree either. And would you look at that? Look at how much detail it adds just by adding a little bit of shade. Man, that looks so good. That instantly brought so much life to our map. It's ridiculous. All right, now we want to add a little bit of shade underneath these shrubs because even though they're shrubs, they're still going to cast a little bit of shade. So by adding the shade, it's really going to bring a little bit more life to our map. And yeah, that looks so good. I really like the way that turned out. Let me go ahead and add a little bit more shade on top of these, or like on the other side of these trees like this. Yeah, that looks really, really nice. Okay, cool. Now the next thing we want to do, let me go ahead, let me grab this, and then I want to make it so we can't place any towers up here. There we go. So we won't be able to place any towers on the upper side here. And then like I was saying, I also want to make it so we can't place any towers over here either. And then the only thing we're doing is we're making it so like we can't place any towers in the only thing we're doing is we're making it so we can't place any towers on the other side of this fence, because if we could place like towers on the other side of this fence, I feel like it would be a little bit too easy. Like this map already isn't as difficult as I would like it to be, but I do feel like it does have a difficult aspect to it, because right now you can like place towers here, you could place water towers here. This spot might be pretty easy, but the plus side of like placing this watering hole here and by leaving all of these spots like filled up is that even if you want to like place down like a monkey sub or something like that, you wouldn't be able to get a MIB on the monkey sub. Well, actually, you know what? You actually could get a MIB on a monkey sub, but because of all of the interference from all of these like trees and stuff, I feel like it wouldn't be as effective as we would like it to be. But all right, guys, I'm going to be completely honest here. I don't think there's anything else we really need to add to this map. Like, I think this map is perfect. Let me go ahead and add a little bit of a background effect. Let's go ahead and add like falling leaves. Instead of these falling leaves, well, actually, you know what? I think we're gonna have to add these. How does this look? I think that looks pretty good. I mean, it really doesn't explain too much with like these autumn leaves here, but I mean, it's a map, guys. I mean, I really like the way that it turned out. Let me go ahead and choose some background music really quick. And I kind of like the way that Winter Night sound. So we'll go ahead and make the music in the background of Winter Night. So now I think we're ready to go ahead and back out and actually play our map. And then we'll go ahead and get like a rough idea of how difficult this map is going to be. Like I was saying, I think this is going to be a pretty easy map. I don't think I managed to like turn it into an expert map, but I do believe that this is definitely like an advanced map. So if we place our Quincy here, well, man, like I say it's an advanced map, but then I'm like starting to think of like the different strategies that I could use. I don't think this is an advanced map. I think this might be more of an intermediate map, guys. Like I tried to turn it into an advanced map or like an expert map, but the only thing that I could do to like turn this into an expert map is maybe like come through and like add an invisible pathway that like leaves the map in like certain spots. But even then, I feel like it would be pretty easy, because right now, if like we threw down like one Prince of Darkness, even though like we took away like the possibility of using Soda, we'd still be able to easily black border this map. So unfortunately, I think I completely failed in turning this into an extra map, but I do really like the way that this map looks. Like I really like the way that all of the shade like pops out really nicely. I also like this tree over here on the right hand side. I think this tree turned out pretty nicely as well. Now the only thing that I really don't like is that unfortunately we can't like add shade to any of the props, which is super unfortunate because I would really like to add a little bit of shade on top of this log here to make it blend in a little bit more. Because that's one thing I will say is that these logs here on the map actually kind of stick out a little bit more than I would like them to. All right, so next thing I want to test to see like if I place like a monkey sub here, and then I upgrade it up to longer range, and then I grab myself like another monkey sub up here, Oh yeah, this map is like, isn't anywhere near as hard as I would like it to be. Like, it's not bad. Like, it's not like as easy as 1, 2, 3, but it's still pretty easy, guys. But all right, dudes, so let me know in the comments below, like, what do you guys think I should have done differently in order to like turn this into an expert map? Like, should I have had like multiple pathways, like one pathway coming in over here on the right hand side? But even if I did that, I still feel like it would be a little bit too easy, even if like the pathways were coming in different directions. I think the only thing I could have done in order to like turn this into an expert map is maybe like do like multiple U-shaped patterns. So like we'd have like the original pathway like go through the entire map, and then we'd have like one pathway come in over here and then exit down here in the bottom, and then we'd have like the same thing happen over here. Like, I feel like that would like turn this into an expert map, but I do feel like it would still be pretty easy. Well, actually, I take it back. If I made it so like the balloons came in over here and then also came in over here, I feel like I would have made the map impossible with all of these like spruce trees. At least impossible on Chimps. But I don't know, dudes. Let me know what you guys think of my remastered version of 1, 2, 3. Like, do you guys think it looks good, or do you guys think it looks a little bit like blah, or do you guys think I did a pretty good job? And also, like, what difficulty would you guys rate this map? Would you guys rate this a beginner map? Would you guys rate this a intermediate map, an advanced map, or do you guys think this is an expert map? Like, I'm like, actually, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and remove the expert because I already know this map isn't an expert map, and I think advanced map would still be pushing it. Because when you compare this map to like maps like X Factor or like Spillway, it feels like it's just a little bit too easy. So I think at most I would put this at an intermediate map, and maybe at the, well, no, because even Lotus Island, the hardest beginner map, is still way easier than this. So I think this map is like a toss up between a intermediate map and an advanced map. But like I was saying, dudes, so let me know in the comments below what you guys think of this map. And also, if you guys want to go ahead and try to beat this on Chimps, let me go ahead and wait. No, we need to go ahead and name our map first. So let's go ahead and name this. Let me see. What if I want to name this? So the original map is called 1, 2, 3. What if we named it like 1 tree, 2 tree, 3 tree? I kind of like the way that that sounds. So it's 1 tree, 2 tree. If you guys get what I'm saying. So 1 tree, 2 tree, 3 tree. I kind of like the way that that sounds. So if you guys would like to play this map for yourself, here is the code right here. And also, if you guys have any really cool ideas for different maps that you guys would like to see me do in the future, please feel free to let me know in the comments below. But that's going to do it for the video. If you guys enjoyed, make sure you guys hit that like button. Also, if you guys are new around here, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button as well. And I'll see you dudes in the next one.